What up, Laker fans? D-Mac here. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. And today we're talking more Zach LaVine. Could the Lakers realistically trade for Zach LaVine? We're going to dive into that in just a second, but quick reminder, for our latest Lakers news, rumors, high videos, and more all season long, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you want to see us posting more Lakers content, smash that like button. And as always, I want your takes down below in the comments section. Today's Lakers 24-8 question of the day. Should the Lakers trade for Zach LaVine? Do you want to see LaVine in LA? Do you think it's a realistic possibility? I want all your thoughts down below. And for our latest Lakers news, head over to alllakers.com. Today, I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Eric Yulo. Yulo, what up, my man?
What's going on, Doug?
Hey, so we got to follow up. We did a Zach LaVine video a few weeks ago, but that was before LeVar Ball popped off. LeVar said he didn't want to play second fiddle in Chicago. You also saw LaVine in LA hopping into his G-Wagon, and TMZ was talking to him about the Lakers, and he says he's always been a fan of LA. Do you make anything of LeVar's comments, of the TMZ comments? Is that something, nothing, or everything? What are your thoughts on just those moments first?
I make it a point in my life to not make a whole lot out of LeVar Ball's comments. I mean, he did will Lonzo to the Lakers out of his own accord, so I guess he gets credit for that. But yeah, I don't listen to a whole lot of LeVar Ball these days. Yeah, I mean, I think LaVine said the right thing. It's the only thing to say in that instance, but it's not going to stop the speculation. We all know he would like to be a Laker, but you know, the Bulls are probably still in the mix to keep him too.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway was him saying, Lonzo's my boy.
Yeah, exactly.
That just hit me. Maybe that means he wants to stay in Chicago or something like that. But I think when it comes to Zach LaVine and the Lakers, we see this every year, especially coming off one, if not the most disappointing season in Lakers history. The Lakers trying to fix everything. They're hungry for a superstar. They think that if they win the offseason by adding a star of LaVine's ilk and they get rid of Russell Westbrook, that'll excite the fan base. The Lakers will once again be championship contenders. So a few weeks ago, we talked about the possibility of, do the Lakers maybe move LeBron? Do they move Anthony Davis? Well, Jeannie Buss has said she thinks they can still win a title with those two. So the question now is, who is going to be that third star next year? But the next question I want to ask you is about Russell Westbrook and the realistic chances that the Lakers can find a third team to take on his contract. We've heard the New York Knicks as a possible team. What do you think the chances are that a team is interested in taking on Russ's deal?
I mean, I think it all matters, like what else you're sweetening the pot with from the Lakers' perspective, right? Whether that is one or both of their first round picks in 2027 and 2029. I think it kind of matters as far as that context for it. I mean, the Knicks kicked the tires on Westbrook, but they've been talking about how they are not interested in bringing in Russell Westbrook. That could just be them trying to up the ante for what the Lakers have to throw in to get that trade to happen. I don't think it's that realistic, but at this point, the Lakers are exploring every opportunity they can to try to get better for next year, and I respect them for that.
But when you look at it, let's say they do find a way to pull this off. They get this sign and trade done with Zach LaVine. He's in purple and gold. It rolls off the tongue, LaVine to LA. You can't spell LaVine without LA. But that would leave the Lakers with $36.6 million left to fill out their roster. Would you have any issue with that? And don't you think that, hey, maybe we see what we saw last year, a team that's too top heavy, a team that has no margin for error. If a guy goes down, they're going to go on a losing streak. Do you have an issue with the lack of resources to fill out the roster like we saw last season?
I mean, absolutely, right? I mean, they pretty much struck out on all their veteran minimum players. I think Carmelo Anthony for the first half was solid, but it was not, 2012 peak Melo. Malik Monk was a nice find. But, you go down the list, Rajon Rondo, DeAndre Jordan, Wayne Ellington, Kent Bazemore, who probably wishes he would have stuck around with the Warriors about right now. But yeah, I think I have a lot of issues trusting this front office to fill it out with veteran players. But I think this roster is going to be top heavy anyway, right? So if you're a Lakers fan that wants LaVine the dream, you're thinking, all right, if we're going to be top heavy, I'd rather be top heavy with LaVine than top heavy with Westbrook.
But then we talked about some of those deals with the Hornets where you get multiple players, or Indiana where you get multiple players in exchange. And you look at that next year, they would hard cap the Lakers, and they would really be in a tough situation as far as flexibility moving forward. And to me, the issue I have is the idea that you would have to sign Zach LaVine long term. Do you really think that he is a max player? In my opinion, I love Zach LaVine. Look, I'll tell you a story. When I first was covering UCLA way back in the day, it was when he was a recruit for Ben Howland, and he committed to to UCLA under Ben Howland. And then, of course, Ben Howland got fired. In the Bruins, they ended up going with Steve Alford. And me and the guy working for 24/7, we had to call Zach LaVine and ask him if his commitment to UCLA was still firm. And his dad picked up the phone. His dad's name's Paul LaVine. He played for the Seahawks. He's actually born in San Bernardino. And we asked him, hey, is Zach's commitment to UCLA still firm? And he said, hey, is it going to start raining in LA? Is the sun still going to be there? Because if that's the case, his commitment is still firm. Because Zach wasn't committing to Ben Howland. Zach was committing to Los Angeles. He was committing to UCLA, and his dad is from Southern California. So I'm here to tell you, he does love Los Angeles. But in my opinion, I just don't think he's that guy you want to sign to a long-term deal. He does have the injury issues. Yes, he can score. He's a silky scorer. He can score the best of them in this league, but leaves a lot to be desired on the defensive end. And I just don't put him in that tier with, of course, obviously the Luka Doncic's and the Jason Tatums, but even the Devin Bookers and the Donovan Mitchells. And that pains me to say that, but I just think when it comes to his durability concerns, I think the Lakers will be in a worse situation in due time. And I just don't think he's that guy that puts this Laker team with LeBron and Anthony Davis over the top to the point where you want to commit to him long term. Do you feel good about the Lakers possibly signing him to a max deal? Do you think LaVine is a max player?
I don't think he is a max player, but that's just the way this world works now in the NBA. You gotta keep the asset, right? Even if the contract doesn't make sense. I mean, he did prove on Chicago that he is willing to play. He is willing to play second fiddle at times, right? DeMar DeRozan kind of led that team. They had some great chemistry, which is why I think the Bulls are going to, make a solid run at trying to keep LaVine in Chicago. But yeah, is he the guy that's going to pair up with Anthony Davis whenever the post-LeBron world happens? Is that the twosome that's going to lead the Lakers to greatness? Probably not, from what we've seen. And like you said, I love LaVine, silky smooth shooter, incredible dunker. Not that's worth a whole lot, but I like his game, but I don't know if that's the card I want to hitch my wagon to as a number two. I think LaVine's a great number 3 guy, which is why I think he makes sense in the short term for the Lakers, but I would agree he does not really make a ton of sense in the long term. But I would put him on that Donovan Mitchell tier. For me, Mitchell and Booker are on a little separate plateaus, but I mean, we're just splitting hairs at that point.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's not worth paying a certain amount of money to, but I think that if you're this Lakers team, you want to go on a shorter term deal, find a guy that can help LeBron and AD next year and possibly the year after that. But then what happens if they don't win a championship and they're stuck with Anthony Davis and Zach LaVine, two of the more injury-prone stars in all of the NBA? So that, to me, is my biggest concern. But we're going to jump into some hypothetical trades. I want to get your takes on these trade proposals. So here's trade idea 1. The Lakers receive Zach LaVine and Malcolm Brogdon. The Bulls receive Buddy Hield, the 2025 first-round pick via the Lakers, the 2027 first-round pick, and a pick swap via the Lakers. And the Pacers receive Russell Westbrook, THT, and a 2022 first-round pick via Chicago. What are your thoughts on that trade? Would you do that deal if you were LA?
Ooh, I mean, I don't think much of THT. I'm sorry to bag on the guy, but I mean, he is not a $9.5 million player. That contract is just more evidence that Pelinka may not quite know what he's doing in the front office there. If you could get Brogdon and Zach LaVine in that trade, I think you'd do it. I think you'd do it because Brogdon, then you have 4 legitimate guys, and then it just goes back to filling out the rest of your roster. But I love the Malcolm Brogdon fit. We've talked about it. I would love to have Malcolm Brogdon. If there's some way to do Hield and Brogdon instead of LaVine, I'd be okay with that too. But I like that trade. I think that's worth expanding the draft capital. Brogdon's another injury-prone guy, but that trade I would roll the dice on.
Okay, so here's trade idea 2. The Lakers receive Zach LaVine, Kelly Olynyk. The Bulls receive Jeremy Grant, a 2025 first-round pick via the Lakers, a 2022 second-round pick via Detroit, and Pistons, they receive Russell Westbrook, Kobe White, and the 2027 first-round pick via the Lakers. Would you feel better about that deal? What are your thoughts on that move?
I'm sorry, who's the second player the Lakers were getting? I was trying to follow that off my head.
So the second player the Lakers would get would be Kelly Olynyk. Yes, I said
Kelly
he's
Olynyk. Still in the league?
Yeah,
shout out.
Honestly, dive into his numbers. He's highly underrated.
Yeah, I'll always hold a grudge for him just screwing up Kevin Love's shoulder in that playoffs run. So, he got signed to a pretty bad contract too, him and THT. I would do that trade without Kelly Olynyk, but I'm sure you have to make the money work out. But I would entertain that trade, certainly.
Yeah, so I think when it comes to Zach LaVine, I mean, my biggest concern, like I said, is the Lakers' inability to create depth. And you mentioned THT. We're on the same page with that. I've always said THT stands for Trade Horton Tucker. I'd be down to move him. I definitely think he's a player the Lakers thought they found someone and they wanted to put a feather in their cap with that one. But hey, we're going to definitely keep track of this all off season. I do think, I have to admit, I don't think this is as realistic as a lot of Laker fans believe. I don't think it's just a pipe dream. I think it's a crack pipe dream. Okay. I think it's very unrealistic that they get a deal done for this. And I think the other thing too is we still haven't heard any concrete information as far as LaVine's interest in forcing his way to the Lakers. Yes, he is a Clutch Sports client, but he would literally have to force his way to LA to get this deal to materialize. But as always, Yulo, thank you for expertise, your insight into the purple and gold. And we'll talk to you soon, man. We got to dive into that Kyrie trade. But yeah, guys, let us know down below in the comment section. Do you want to see the Lakers trade for Zach LaVine? Do you think he's a max player? What do you think about those trade proposals? Let us know down below. And for all latest Lakers news, head over to alllakers.com.